Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. And, of course, he's won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos. He's Brandon Marshall. He joins us here on the DG Show on Fox Sports Radio. I do want to ask you about the Broncos.
Yep, talk to me.
So, how would you contextualize this season?
Oh, man, basically a season full of ups and downs, ebbs and flows like most seasons go. Starting off 1-5 and then ripping out, I think maybe 5 or 6 wins in a row. Russell showed some improvement, but clearly it wasn't enough, exactly, especially for what he was paid. And, Vance Joseph and the defense, looked terrible initially. Terrible. Then they started getting turnovers, right? Started only allowing 17 points per game. They were playing really good. But that loss to Houston and the next loss, I'm drawing a blank on it, that killed the season. That basically derailed the season because of how they started. And so, Sean Payton's coming in trying to change the culture. And then I guess he just feels like, Russell just didn't fit his vision. So,
Do you agree?
I don't agree. I think Russell is still serviceable. It's 26-8, right? 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. I think he's still serviceable. The grass isn't always greener. The problem is the money. If he wasn't getting paid $250 million, that wasn't his contract, I think they could have decided to work with him. But, the money, they got to cut that down to try to, help build the roster and get more talent on the team.
Yeah, but there is something there where he just doesn't think ultimately, yes, it's a lot of money, but if he was that good, he'd be worth that money. Absolutely. So there's something, and Sean has earned it with all of the success he has in New Orleans. On the other hand, there's a little bit of Gruden to it, right, where Gruden at the end in Tampa, he couldn't ever decide on a quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of the same thing. He kept kind of going through quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, and never found happiness, and ultimately got fired because of it. Okay, so what type of quarterback would make it work in Denver?
Obviously he's looking for a gunslinger. Somebody with obviously a little younger. Now, not saying Russ isn't mobile, but I think Sean wants a guy he can mold up from the ground up. He wants one of them rookie quarterbacks. I'm not sure if they'll be able to move up from 12 to 1 or 2. That's going to be a big ask. So I think he wants somebody that he can mold himself. And obviously he had a lot of success with Drew Brees in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. But if he can get one of the top gunslingers, even if he can get a Jaden Daniels, maybe that could help. But if they can't move up in the draft, what's next for him? Is it do they try to go get a Kirk Cousins? What is the thought process with that? I can see that being a solid move for Denver as far as making the playoff goes, but I don't know. What
happened to San Francisco's defense?
It's terrible.
They were crushing everybody though, and then they go into Baltimore, get smacked around, and I don't know if Baltimore exposed something, if they lost their confidence. What it has been terrible. What's gone on?
Well, in my opinion, it's the defensive coordinator. I think it's Steve Wilks. Steve Wilks hasn't been a coordinator that sticks around for a long time. He bounces around, right? Because the same defense essentially the same nucleus, were great with Robert Saleh, were great with DeMeco Ryans. Only change is Steve Wilks. So I think it's probably the way he's coaching them. It's the cause. It's the lack of the adjustments. It's so many different things because they have a great. If you look at the roster, it's great talent.
All-star team.
You know what I'm saying? So there's no way they should be getting ran through like this.
The Chiefs' defense is young and they really, really fly around. Defense player, what do you like about the Chiefs, what they're doing?
Man, you know what I love it because it's not a star-studded defense, right? But they're playing sound. They play with technique, You could tell they practice and they focus on the details. So, Steve Spagnuolo, he's doing a fantastic job with that defense. Chris Jones obviously is the big name on that. But the way they play with technique and sound, they play together, man, they don't make a lot of mistakes and not a lot of mental errors, in their group.
You mentioned gunslinger. Mahomes used to be a gunslinger. Now it's like he's decided, all right, I don't have those dudes anymore to go up and make plays. I'm just going to play smart, right, and not turn the football over. Mm-hmm. That's kind of an amazing thing. Guys don't usually do that when they have early success. They don't change what they've done, but it does feel like he's changed and refined and got even better if that's possible.
Yeah, and that's what makes him great. And obviously, man, we have to give some credit to Andy Reid.
Sure.
One of the GOAT coaches that we don't really give enough credit for, in my opinion. He's done a great job with a lot of quarterbacks. So the work he's done with Patrick Mahomes, man, it's been fantastic. And Patrick Mahomes, he's that great, man. How do you go against him?
You can't. What do you remember about winning the Super Bowl?
Man, it felt like a movie.
Okay, so you woke up. And what hotel were you staying at? Do you remember?
Nah, it was some weird hotel in South Bay. I don't know. It wasn't great because when we played in New York against the Seahawks, we stayed in a lavish hotel.
Right.
This hotel was more motelish. But hey,
really,
we were focused. Yeah, it wasn't nice. It wasn't nice at all. I'm not gonna lie to you.
For real,
it wasn't nice. Nah.
Okay, well let's go to New York because let's start with the bad one, okay? Because New York one spiraled out of hurry. I mean, really, the first snap of the game was the thing got bad in a hurry.
Yeah.
I remember doing that broadcast, thinking, leading up to it, and I was like, we're talking about Payton in the offense, but man, defense usually wins these things, and that defense was nasty, and you could never really get a rhythm offensively based upon their defense, which ironically is what you guys did when you won the Super Bowl, right? Yeah. Cam and that offense came in, he was the MVP, and they could never get on track. Yeah. But why do you think that, like, the cliche defense wins championships is there for a reason, but why don't we pay attention to that as media?
Well, because it's not the flashy, right? What the flash is the offense, the touchdowns, the quarterback, the receivers, right? That's the flash, and that's what sells tickets. But the real substance of everything is in that defense, and which is why Kansas City is back in the Super Bowl again, even though their offense isn't high-powered, right? So, real football heads, right, real guys who know football understand, okay, look, this team has a chance because of their defense. They're not flashy, but their defense is solid. So, the media should start paying more attention and giving, defenses more credit.
Well, even when you guys won it, right, the story was still Payton, right? And that became his last game.
Yeah.
How do you guys handle that? And, look, Payton didn't start the whole season. He didn't have a great year. Yeah. He didn't have a particularly good game, right? The defense and even the special teams made big plays in that game. There's still egos in that room. How'd you guys handle that?
Man, we was happy. Because here's the thing. The night before the game, right, DeMarcus Ware and Peyton Manning got up and spoke to the team. DeMarcus Ware was in tears. Peyton Manning, emotional. Literally, I'm looking to my left and my right, and all my teammates was like, "Yo, we gotta get one for Peyton. We know it's his last game," and that gave us an extra boost. Yo, you bringing me back because it was a real emotional moment,
right?
And I've always tell people and kids I mentor that when you do something that's bigger than than yourself,
sure.
I feel like you got an extra push. You go a little harder. You want to do a little more, and so we came into that Sunday say, "Yo, we got to get this for Peyton, man." And we got to get this for DeMarcus Ware. This is probably his last chance as well. So, man, it was truly amazing. And going back to what you said about Seattle's defense, John Elway saw that game and then got the blueprint. So the next year, what did he do? Signed T.J. Ward, signed GOTTLIEB, signed DeMarcus Ware. He understood, and then we got a championship.
One of the filthiest defenses ever, and no-fly zone as well, right?
Yep.
And yet still probably doesn't get the credit you guys deserve. Yep. Because Payton was your quarterback, and that is the way it works. Who do you like Sunday?
I mean, I can't go against Patrick Mahomes.
I can't either.
There's no way, right. Especially with how San Francisco defense is playing. I just can't go against them. So I got to go with Chiefs. And I hate the Chiefs, by the way. I'm Broncos guy.
Of course, of course. No, I understand, but you're sitting there going like, am I really going to say this dude who's played 6 seasons, now been in 4 Super Bowls, and when he had any sort of offensive line play, he's won.
Yeah.
Against a guy who, is a great story, but we have not seen him on this level. Mm-mm. And really, Brock Purdy hadn't played well in probably 5 of the 8 postseason quarters, and this is going to be the hardest 4 quarters of his career.
Toughest.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
Well, listen, man, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you having us.
Absolutely. Thank you.